Today, I want to talk about something really important. I've talked about this before, but it's so important, I have to talk about it again. It's really just I think this is almost, I don't want to say like the number one thing. I don't really know what the number one thing is, but this is one of the biggest things in terms of actually growing your business, marketing yourself, just doing anything really. And it's really just building momentum. And that's what I want to talk about today. And a lot of times you have to trick yourself into being successful. You have to trick yourself into getting things done. Otherwise, you just get nothing done. And this happened to me years ago when I'm sitting there, obviously trying to get a lot done. I just procrastinated like crazy. I mean, no matter what I did, no matter how many books I read about overcoming procrastination, I would just procrastinate. And so this is the one thing that I kind of tricked myself into doing. And then eventually I realized like, okay, I can just keep tricking myself into doing this over and over and over again. Basically, it's this psychological factor that kind of makes success inevitable. And what you're doing is you're ultimately using the environment around you to influence who you are. And that's what this really is. So what's up, Richard? What's up, everybody? All right, let's see who else is hopping on. Cool. So yeah, that's really what I want to talk about today is really just building momentum. Like I said, I talked about this before. I'll probably talk about it again because it is that important. And so the definition of momentum, I wrote it down here. It's the impetus force gained by a moving object. You need to become that moving object. You need to become this person who's just building a lot of momentum in your business, who's just doing a lot of things, and then you just become this force to be reckoned with. That's what you're really trying to get to no matter what. I remember when I was actually I was at a friend's house and I was living with a friend. I'm trying to build my entertainment business. I was doing cold calling, cold emailing, and all that sort of stuff. I'm trying to do whatever I possibly can to get hired as an entertainer. And so what was weird about it is I would cold call or I would cold email, and then all of a sudden I would just stop doing it. Like I'd just stop doing it. And then it would take me a long time to get back on track. I mean, I'd be doing it, cold calling, cold emailing. I'm good to go. Bam, bam, bam. I'm getting in the moment. And then one day I'd just stop like for a day, 2 days, 3 days or whatever. And then it would take me like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to actually get back going again. And you got to think like in terms of momentum, how it works. Like remember, if there's a big boulder in front of you, it's really hard to get it going. Once it's going, it's really easy. I mean, you're just pushing the thing. You're just like, but in the beginning, it's really, really hard to push that big boulder. And so this is one of the things where you have to truly trick yourself into doing this if you want to get a lot done. And this happened to me once again when I was doing like a lot of Facebook advertising. So I was spending a lot of money on Facebook ads, and one day I just stopped doing it. I just stopped spending money on Facebook ads because when you spend money on advertising, in the beginning, it's really cheap, and then it just starts to increase in terms of how much you're actually spending because people aren't clicking on it as much. And so when I saw that, I just stopped. I paused the ad, and I said, okay, I'll pause it right now. I'll create another ad in just a second. In the meantime, I'm going to create some more content. And that's what I did. I was like, I'm going to create some content. That way I felt like I was still doing stuff. But because I stopped, it took me like a month, 2 months to actually start it back up again. I don't know why, but in my brain, I was just thinking like, I don't know. Don't really feel like spending money today. All right. I don't really know. I'm not going to start Facebook ads. And so that's what happened. When I was spending money on Facebook ads, I was good to go. Then I stopped, and it was hard to get back on track again. You have to make sure that you're always building momentum in your business with everything that you're doing, because when you have this momentum, you get a lot done. And if you stop that momentum, once again, it's going to be really, really hard to get back on track. Literally imagine a big, massive boulder in front of you, and you're trying to push this thing. In the beginning, it's hard as hell to push it. It's hard to get it going. Once it's going, it's really easy. But if you were to stop, if you just stop pushing, once again, the boulder would stop. And now if you want to start again, once again, you have to exert all that force in order to get it going. And so this is why you have to truly, truly, truly trick yourself into building momentum in your business if you want to actually grow your business. And by the way, guys, if you have any questions, make sure you ask now, and then I'll come back to them later. But you truly have to basically make yourself an unstoppable force in everything you do. When you create a lot of momentum in your business, here's what happens. Your thoughts, your brain becomes obsessed with what it is you're trying to accomplish. That's when you started getting a lot of momentum in what it is you're doing. If you haven't created momentum in your business, like if you're not doing a lot, you're going to be thinking about other things. This is why boredom is Boredom is something that you truly have to stay away from, because if you have a lot of free time, your mind can think about all the other things. Your mind can just think about whatever it needs to think about. Like, I wonder what I'm going to eat today. And it can think about tons of different things. But when you're constantly on the go, you're constantly moving, just go, 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 go. Your mind gets obsessed with the goals that you're trying to accomplish. And then that's all you can think about. And you have this sense of urgency. You're like, I got to get this thing done. I got to get it done. I got to start spending more money on ads. I got to start creating more content. I got to start doing, and it's like you're obsessed with it. That's when you know you've created momentum. You have to think in terms of speed in the beginning. Like, you're thinking in terms of speed, urgency. That's why I really like from the Jeff Bezos biography, where the mom actually told Jeff Bezos, she said something like, oh, don't you want to, like, are you sure you want to quit your job? And I don't know, maybe you can like work on this thing called Amazon part-time. And I don't really know. And Jeff Bezos, he's like, no, I got to get going. I got to get going. This thing called the internet. I mean, we got to like really, really sell the stuff online, these books and all that. Like, if I don't do it, then somebody else is going to do it first. He had this sense of urgency, and he used all that momentum to grow. Momentum it's real. It's an invisible force. It is real. You have to truly think in terms of just momentum in general. And so momentum, it's one of the reasons why so many people talk about habits. Everyone keeps saying habits, like create habits to do this, do that, and all that, because the habits, what it's doing, it's kind of helping you create that momentum. It's getting you into the zone. That's the purpose of when I wake up and I do the boxing. I'm not waking up to do the boxing like to literally learn how to box. Like, that's not the purpose. I haven't had a trainer. I had a guy who used to live here in the high rise. He showed me a couple things to make sure that I was actually throwing a punch right. So he showed me a couple things like that. But I don't actually have a boxing trainer. That's not what I'm boxing for. I'm boxing to create that energy inside of me so I have momentum throughout the entire day. So when I get up, 30 minutes of boxing, get all the oxygen in my brain. I'm like, whoo, get that high going on from all the oxygen, go take a cold shower, keep that momentum going. And then once again, I'm always trying to think like move, keep like that energy up. That's the purpose. It's all about the momentum that's created, because when you feel that excitement, you feel that energy, you're like, all right, it's time to get things done. Let's go. Let's get it. And that's the state of mind that you pretty much always want to be in. When you're in that state of mind, you're naturally obsessed with what it is you're trying to accomplish. And so, like, even with these Facebook Live sessions, like when I do these Facebook Live sessions, I get myself hyped. I'm like, literally when I'm done with these Facebook Live sessions, I'm like, yo, yeah, let's go. Let's get it. All right. That's literally what I'm doing, like, after these Facebook Live sessions, because I'm creating all this energy right now within myself just by the way I'm talking. And so, by the way I'm talking, I'm sitting here, just all this energy. Then when I'm done with the Facebook Live, I don't just go, okay, I'm done. Let me go take a nap. I can't. It's like I got all this energy built up already from me talking this way. So when I'm done with this, I'm like, all right, bam, let me go upload this to YouTube. Okay, let me go work on this. All right, let me go get this done. And so that's what happens. Everything that you're doing is all about trying to influence yourself to get that momentum inside of you. You're basically using the outside world. You're using everything to create this momentum, this energy, and you got to keep moving, keep going. Let's go, let's go, let's go. That's a state of mind that you always got to be in. And you can even think about this from a real scientific standpoint. Think about Einstein's equation, E equals mc squared. Basically, energy becomes mass. That's what the thing is. And so, you have to just assume, well, not assume, I mean, it is actual science. Energy does become mass. Obviously, that's not like literally the way it works, where just because you're all hyped up, then poof, you can just like create the world around you. But it's kind of how it works. And so, what you're doing is you're using this energy to literally create the world around you. You don't live in the world around you. You create the world around you. So think about it with something simple as writing a book. So I remember when I first wrote my first book, the Art of Restaurant Magic. This was for entertainers on how to get booked in restaurants, how to make a lot of money in restaurants, how to get tips in restaurants as an entertainer. And so think about it. Like, think about anyone who writes a book. It's just in your head. Like, all it is just in your head at this moment. It doesn't actually exist in the physical world. Then all of a sudden you have to create enough momentum, enough energy to take what's inside of your brain and to make it physical, to take energy inside of your brain and turn it into mass. And so that's how you really have to think. It's like, all the thoughts were in my brain. Here's how you do restaurant magic. Here's how you do that. All right, let me sit down and write the book. And it's like it takes that energy out of you in terms of you got to do stuff to make this thing happen. That's how you really have to think in terms of I'm not going to live in the world. I'm going to literally create the world around me. So that you literally just think from a scientific standpoint. That's literally how science works. E equals mc squared, Einstein's equation. And so what you're trying to do in terms of getting this momentum going is you want to think in terms of making quick decisions. This is why they say a lot of super successful people tend to make fast decisions. And if they're wrong, they'll go back and correct it. But if you make a slow decision, if you move slow, then once again, you're not creating momentum in anything that you're doing. You're not creating any sort of energy. So if you're sitting down and you're thinking about these decisions for a long time, you're not really doing anything. You're not going to get much done. And so it's not about making the right decisions. You just make a decision. And then if it's wrong, you fix it later. That's what you really have to do. You have to think speed first. That's why Zuckerberg, his thing was move fast and break things, because he knew like, hey, let's move fast and break things. And if we break things, we can fix it. But if you move slow, nothing's going to happen. There is no next. Like, move slow. Okay. Nothing's going to happen. You literally create nothing. And so that's why you think more along the lines of Zuckerberg, move fast and break things rather than, oh, let me just sit down, do some research. And then you're researching for a week, 2 weeks, a month, and you still haven't done anything, because you got to get into the habit of making decisions. And that you make quick decisions because once again, it's all about speed. You get the speed going, you get the energy going, and then you get the momentum going, and then bam, you created something. That's how it really works. That's what you really want to think about whenever you're trying to do things. If you're making a big decision, that can require some thinking. If you're making small decisions though, and most decisions are small decisions, if you're making small decisions, then don't worry about thinking too much. If it's a big decision that's going to literally affect everything like in your life, then maybe you want to think about it. But most people aren't at that point where it's a huge decision in that way. And so you got to make quick decisions. When you make quick decisions, that's what's really going to build the momentum in your business and in everything that you do. And this is one of the reasons why I keep telling people, stop making excuses, stop coming up with reasons, because excuses and reasons, they literally destroy your momentum. It's like you're sitting there, it's like you're running, and then all of a sudden you're just like, you come up with an excuse, my stomach, and then you slow down. That's what an excuse or a reason does to you. It slows down that momentum. And remember, imagine a big boulder in front of you and you got to push the boulder, you get it going, and then all of a sudden, let's say you're pushing it. It's really easy because you got the momentum going, you're pushing it. Then all of a sudden you stop pushing. Well, what's going to happen to the boulder? The boulder's not going to stop immediately. It's going to start to slow down. It's going to just be like, it's going to go fast at first. You're pushing it and then it's going to start to slow down. And that's what happens with excuses and reasons. When you come up with excuses and reasons, it's almost like you're pushing the boulder and then the excuse causes you to stop pushing. The excuse goes like you're thinking at this point. The excuse, the reason, and once again, the boulder was going like this, but you took your hands off of it. Now it's going like this. And then all of a sudden, once again, you're thinking your reasons, excuses, and eventually it's just going to stop. And then when it stops, once again, it's really, really hard to get it going again. And so this is why I really like what P.T. Barnum, if you look at his biography and you just kind of look at what he did, P.T. Barnum, his first act was Joyce Heth. Joyce Heth, she claimed to be the slave to Lincoln, I think, or to someone. And she's claimed like she was like 180 years old or something like that. And so what he did, he was like, oh, this is going to be a great act for the circus, or a great act. Well, at the time, I don't think it was circus yet. So he's like, this is going to be a great act that I can sell, make a ton of money from. But he didn't have the money to like buy her in general, like to buy it. And so he's thinking, well, what most people would do, they would have the excuses, the reasons to not go forward. They would say, I don't have the money. But P.T. Barnum, he didn't stop at the excuse. He said, like, once again, he's pushing the boulder. He didn't just stop. He didn't go, oh, I don't have the money. He didn't do that. He's pushing the boulder. He's like, okay, I'm going to get the money. I'm going to get it. And he pushed it faster. He's like, let me go get the money. He's like pushing it faster, and he figured out how to get the money. And then bam, eventually he became P.T. Barnum. And so what ultimately what you're doing is you commit and then you figure it out later. That's really what you have to do. You say, here's what I'm going to get done. You commit to it and you figure out how to actually do it later on. What most people do is they stop at the excuse. They don't commit. They just stop there. They say, I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I don't have this. They stop at the actual excuse. And so once again, pushing the boulder, they stop. They take their hands off of it. And then bam. Whereas if you do what P.T. Barnum did, he's pushing the boulder. Then all of a sudden he commits to it. Now he's pushing it faster. Now he's like, man, I got to hurry up. Let me hurry up and get this thing. That's what you really want to do. That's what commitment does to you. And so commitment versus excuses. You got to get rid of the excuses, the reasons as to why you can't do something. Most people stop at that excuse. They stop at the reason. Whereas P.T. Barnum, he's like, I'm committed. I'm going to push this boulder faster. Let me get this thing and I'm going to figure it out. And so people always say like it's about quality, not quantity and all that sort of stuff. And this is why I say, sure, but in order to get quality, you got to go through quantity. You got to go fast, do a lot, and then you'll figure it out as you go. And so this is why, like, you can't sit down and say, I got to do more research. I got to do this. Most things that you're doing, you're not a freaking scientist. Just understand that. You're not a scientist. When you say I got to do research, that should mean 10 minutes of your time, not freaking 2 weeks of your time. My friend Adam, he's a biochemist. When he says I got to do research and he takes 2 weeks, a month, a year, it makes sense because he's a damn biochemist. If you are not a biochemist, you do not need to be taking 2 weeks, a month to do some research on anything, literally nothing. It should not take you that long to do research on anything. You just say, here's what I need to do. Let me go do this thing. You're not a biochemist. Remember that. My friend Adam is. So understand that momentum, when you truly have momentum going, you feel like you're on a mission. You're like, all right, man, you did everything. You did boxing in the morning. You got a cold shower. You're ready to go. You're like, let's get this thing going. Let's get it done. Like you feel like you're on a mission. That's when you know that you truly have momentum. And when you don't feel like you're on a mission, that's when you know like, hey, I slowed down a little bit. That's a difference. And so that's how you know like I got momentum or I don't. And so just understand that like this is one of the reasons why I say the word goals just because I don't feel like saying the word mission, because I don't feel like explaining the difference to people. But every single time that I think of a goal, I think of it as a mission, not a goal, because a goal is something you write down. A mission is something you move towards. So I think of everything as a mission. I'm like, all right, my mission is to do 7 figures a month. That's my mission. And so at that point, when I feel this mission, I'm like, all right, let's go, let's get it. And so that's what you're really trying to do in terms of like getting that feeling. You really just got to get out there, just do something. A lot of people, they're just thinking too much. That's what's happening. Like you're pushing the boulder, you end up thinking, and then you take your hands off the boulder. That's what thinking does to you. When you keep thinking, that's why you make quick decisions. When you're pushing the boulder and then you make a quick decision, it's like you do this, you're pushing the boulder, and then you go, okay. And that's what happens. You're pushing, you go, okay. Versus what most people do, they're pushing and they go, let me do some research on this thing. And then the boulder, it was going fast. Now it's going, while they're doing research, and then before they know it, it just stops. And then all of a sudden they got the research done, and then now they got to get all that force once again to just get it started again. It's really, really hard when you stop doing something to get it started again. And I'll tell you firsthand, I did it a while ago when I was doing Facebook ads. I stopped just because an excuse. I stopped because of an excuse. The ads were increasing a little bit. It went from charging me like $1.50 per conversion to like $2 a conversion. And I was thinking like, you know what? Let me pause this thing and let me go create some content in the meantime, and I'll figure out the ad a couple days from now. And then a couple days would go by, like, I still want to create more content before I start doing some more ads. And like, once again, it was just hard to get going again. So just understand that. Remember, the definition of momentum is the impetus force gained by a moving object. You have to become that moving object if you want to turn ideas into something practical. If you want to turn ideas into execution, then you have to become that moving object. You have to be that force. That's how you really get things done. And this is like hands down the one of the biggest things in terms of everything that you're doing. If you want to grow your business, you have to focus on building momentum in everything that you do. All right. So we are good to go for today. See, totally there lately. Nice. All right. Cool. So no questions. What up, Alex? All right, we are good to go for today. So I will see you guys tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Take care, everybody.